All day, what we do, we convey information. What we need to do now, if we want to be charismatic, is we need to communicate emotion, paint a picture in people's minds. You want to build tension. Bring the other person into the action. That is a skill set that you can learn. Some men are great communicators when it comes to their business, their career, and that side of their life, but it doesn't really seem to transfer to the dating side of things. And the reason is not that they're saying something wrong, it's simply that these are two completely different games that have to be played in a different way. This is probably not the first video you're watching on dating, on being charismatic. So rather than telling you right away what you can do to become more charismatic, and we're gonna do that as well, let's first look at why it is so difficult to do that. Because we've all heard that we need to be more engaging in when we talk to people, we need to be more charismatic. But why is it so hard? All day, what we do, especially at work, especially when we talk in a business context, we convey information. We've just talked about this. But when we convey information, what we try to do is we try to do that with as little emotion as possible. We try to just convey the bare minimum information that is required for the other person to understand what you want them to understand. What we need to do now, if we want to be charismatic, is we need to communicate emotion. So it's pretty much the opposite. We learn to communicate with as little emotion as possible, and now we need to communicate with as much emotion as possible. And I want to give you a very simple example here. I'm just going to make this up off the top of my mind, right? I can tell you the same story in two completely different ways. The rational way of storytelling, the way we communicate most of the day, would go something along the lines of this. And I can tell pretty much any story in anywhere from 1 to 3 sentences. The story could be about last weekend. I'm just going to make this up. Last weekend, I met with a friend and we went to a soccer game and had a beer. That's rational storytelling. It's quite boring, right? I'm just giving you some facts. Now let's take that same story and make it a little bit more interesting. I could already make it more interesting in the way I present the whole story. I could say something along the lines, and forgive me for being a bit slow here because I'm going to make this up. I could say something like, hey, last weekend, I really didn't expect it, but I ended up meeting one of my oldest friends that I hadn't seen in a long time. So I'm already sharing something that's a bit more interesting. Oh, okay, so where's he going with this story? And we met, and what we initially planned is going to a soccer game and watching XYZ team play. But when we got to the stadium, right, you build suspense. You create a story that can be painted in the mind. You use words that draw the image in the mind of the listener. You use your tonality to make it more interesting. These are aspects of great storytelling compared to the person that is simply conveying the information of the story. The information is boring, it's not engaging, it's not fun. But telling the story in a charismatic way, that is an art, part of storytelling that transcends into everything else that you do on your date, the way you communicate. So let's talk about this. So how do you become more charismatic? And I'm going to teach you how to do this by using storytelling, because storytelling is going to be the easiest way for you to practice that skill set. The first thing you have to do, and we've already used that in this example story that we just created, is you want to paint a picture in people's minds. So rather than just telling them the facts of what happened, start imagining that you have to paint the picture in their mind. You take them by the hand and show them. Tell them what things looked like. Tell them what you felt in the moment that you were there. And then we're at the soccer game and I was really excited because my team was winning. It was going so well. We already scored 2 goals. Take them by the hand. Help them feel what you felt in that story, what you felt in that moment. And then we're going to get to the second point. What you want to do next, and this is a skill set that you can use anywhere in communication, is you want to build tension. So rather than saying right away what you're going to say, rather than just giving them the information, make them wait for it a little bit, right? Pause in your story. Say things like, we already scored 2 goals. You'll never guess what happened then. Pause. Give them a moment. Build that tension, right? And you can use that all throughout your communication. When you talk to somebody, sometimes just pause. Look at them, just expectantly, smile, see how they react. Just put a bit of pressure on them, play with the pressure. Imagine that the pressure is not just something that's happening that you might feel, but it's something that you can purposefully play with, throw at the other person, see how they react. And the third thing is bring the other person into the action. So whenever you share a story, ask them, what would they have done? How would you have felt in that situation? And that is also something that you can do all the time. Somebody else is sharing a story, ask them something that's emotionally engaging, right? Don't just ask them about the facts, ask them how they felt in that situation. Were they worried? Were you scared? How do you feel, right? Ask these kind of questions. And if you apply these 3 things, painting pictures in their minds, playing with tension, and making the other person part of the whole adventure, so to speak, if you do these three things and you practice them in your storytelling, you can start using them all throughout your communication. So the guys that are the most charismatic in their communication, the guys women obsess over based on what they say, they're not like that because of what they experience in their life. They're not like that because of the stories they live through. They are like that because of how they tell the stories, because of how they communicate them. And that is a skill set that you can learn. It is actually not as hard as it seems once you start understanding it, once it starts clicking. If you want my help with this, as always, there's a link to my calendar down below. Hop on a call, let's have a chat, and I'll see you in one of my next videos.